Certainly week 6. Late first quarter is where we'll pick it up. The score is 7-3. Dak Prescott looking to the end zone for CeeDee Lamb. Interception right there, RC. That was a money play.
Listen, this was a man-to-man concept for Brian Branch and the Detroit Lions. Falls off underneath the post corner.
Second quarter, Lions leading 10-3. Lions run the trick play. That's just disrespectful,
well,
Dan.
That's their trick play that so many others have stolen. It's an unbelievable, timely call. Beautiful throw and catch by Jared Goff to Laporta.
Lions now lead 17-3. 4th and 2 for the Cowboys. They're looking to keep the drive alive. And Prescott looking for Kevontae Turpin, but Terrion Arnold breaks it up. So the Lions get the ball. The Cowboys 38 and under a minute to go in the half. Goff taking the snap. David Montgomery got paid, and he showed him why.
He's one of the most, if not the most physical back in the NFL outside of Derrick Henry.
Lions led 27-6 at the half, and then early in the quarter, the Cowboys facing 2nd and 5. Prescott dropping back, and that's when Aiden Hutchinson drops him. Unfortunately, still down on the play. Here's more from Jerry and Dak.
This was a shocker. I thought we would do a lot of things better in that football game, and I think we can. We just didn't do them out there today.
Humbling for sure. Concerning. I'm not a guy to hit the panic button. I get to have the ball in my hands. I get to lead this offense. I get to lead this team. Hard for me to say that. And then shocking. I can agree to that to some extent.
It's just been a horrible run for the Cowboys in home games, dating back to their loss in the wild card round against the Packers. I see what we did there. We put the subway behind this graphic because they're just all the way underground with the way these numbers are. Dallas has scored just 85 points in their last 4 home games, allowed close to 450 yards a game and 167 points. That's the 3rd most in any 4-game span by any team at home in NFL history. Swag, I'm sorry because I feel like your sad face is warranted right now. Did you expect this type of performance out of the Cowboys?
Yeah, I did. And look, I got 2 TV buffs. YouTube boogie. You saw the damn season coming last year. You knew based on how season 1 ended, season 2 was only going to go downhill from there based on what they did this offseason. Here's the thing, though. When you look at, here's what Dallas should be most concerned about. I know that I know the Detroit Lions are considered or arguably the best team in the NFC. You are really that far apart, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the issue that they have to go back with. And I can't stand, listen, I think Dak has become a guy that will say what's on his mind a lot more than he was early in his career. Hey, Dak, let me say it for you. Hell yeah, it's concerning. And the reason it's concerning is, one, you top heavy as a football team.
Sure.
And everybody else roster is not only deeper, now your superstars ain't separated from nobody, especially in your division with what's going on in Washington. The trajectory of the Dallas Cowboys is what the conversation should go to, because this year they're a bad football team that probably won't make the playoffs.
I asked this morning, what team in the NFC do we think Dallas is definitively better than?
Carolina.
That's the one.
Ooh.
And maybe the Rams because of the
injuries. And you still don't know if Matt has a conniption. They could beat anybody.
Sure.
Conniption.
I was thinking about this today.
The wind's having a conniption right now on it. There's like cotton flowing around right here. I don't know what's going on.
I don't believe that's cotton.
This is New England.
I don't know what it is. You're right, RC. It's not.
Go ahead, Doug.
Go ahead.
Doug.
All right.
I thought it came off the jacket. That's why.
Hear me out.
Focus, Dan.
What quarterback in the NFL is in a worse situation right now than Dak Prescott?
Whew.
Think about it like
Maybe
this.
Drake May?
Think about it like this.
No.
No. Hear me out. 1, the only shot we have to win is if I score 35. 2, we're less than one-dimensional.
I don't have the people.
We're not even one-dimensional.
Nope.
One-dimensional means you're going to throw it every play, but you can. They're so less than one-dimensional. They got to throw it every play, but they can only really throw it to one guy, and that's CeeDee Lamb. Now, Ferg has had his moments, no question, but you're asking Dak Prescott to do what every quarterback hates to do. I got to go be Superman every single play because I don't care who you are. Eventually, that bites you.
Catch up to you.
And that's when you see some of these red zone turnovers and interceptions. You're like, dude, that's not like you. No matter what people think I believe about Dak Prescott, Prescott, those decisions are so abnormal for him down in the red zone.
Great
and
decision maker.
I think it's because he's sitting there going, I got to score 35 every game to have a chance to win.
100%.
Yeah, it's like when you see a great defense saddled with a bad quarterback and then they get tired and they start pressing. I think about the Browns, and honestly, to some extent. And yeah, it's like the reverse of that with the quarterback.
Yes.
I'll flip it to the other side of the ball. I think what we saw was that the improvements in run defense over the last couple of weeks were something of a mirage because of opponent, and also because this is a team that has, stacked the box and dropped safety to help defend the run and left themselves vulnerable, in the process to the explosive pass, which, by the way, to turn this to the Lions, that is a new dimension to this Lions team. Last year, when they were facing single high, you didn't feel like they could attack deep and outside the numbers.
Jameson.
Now they can beat you so many different ways, and a team like Dallas is just woefully overmatched against them.
Yeah, this was like Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks. We all knew how this was going to go.
Bing bong.
2 weeks ago, I said for the Dallas Cowboys to compete, Dak Prescott had to play at an MVP level every single week.
Yeah.
I still believe that. On Friday, me, Mina, Dan were sitting there, and I was asked a question that there only was one answer to. How do the Cowboys win the game?
Everybody.
Offensively, everybody has to play the best game they've played all season, which is impossible to ask. This was an impossible matchup for the defense. The worst matchup possible. It was predictable. Everybody knew that this was going to happen. Coming into the game, you knew they couldn't stop them from running, and you knew once they couldn't stop them from running that they couldn't stop them from beating them deep down the middle of the field because they would have to play single high. It looked just like it looked against the Saints. It looked just like it looked early against the Ravens. It looked just like it looked against the Green Bay Packers. If they play good offense, they gonna get blown out of the stadium every single time, and we saw that. And they have nobody offensively to combat that. And we said it the entire offseason. We got tricked week 1. But you won't trick me. Like George Bush said years ago, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me, can't get fooled again.
Can't get fooled
Tell him,
again.
RC.
Because
That's
he
true.
didn't remember the rest.
Well,
but
you know
it's true.
Slight paraphrase.
I was going to say it was something like that. So for as much of the negativity has been toward the Cowboys and the positivity has been toward the Lions, there was a devastating moment in last night's game for Aiden Hutchinson. We've all talked about how heartbreaking it was. Let's bring Adam Schefter back in here for more on Aiden's injury. What's the latest, Adam?
Well, Laura, it turns out he has had surgery already for a fractured tibia and fibula. He is now expected to be out 4 to 6 months, which essentially ends his season in all probability, except for the fact that the Super Bowl is in 4 months, and Dan Campbell talked about today not counting him out. Everybody would love to see Aiden Hutchinson get back as soon as possible, see whether the Lions can even make it possible by making it to the Super Bowl. But it was a devastating injury to see him carted off the field yesterday. You're talking about a dominant defensive lineman, one of the very best defensive players in football. And keep in mind, the Lions already had lost Marcus Davenport. Now they lose Aiden Hutchinson. So Aiden Hutchinson's going to have to recover from this big-time injury. The Lions lose their best defensive player. It's a massive blow to a defense that cannot be underestimated. And one other thing in that game yesterday, after the game, Jerry Jones said that he is not considering any change at head coach. He is keeping Mike McCarthy, despite the fact that the Dallas Cowboys are entering the bye week. This would be a time when a team ordinarily might act, but Jerry Jones not even entertaining that idea for the winningest coach in Cowboys franchise history.
Adam, I want to follow up on something earlier we were talking about with Aiden Hutchinson down, that maybe the Lions would go out and get somebody. Right. Of course, we've mentioned Max Crosby. Is that realistic for the Raiders to potentially trade him away, though?
That's fantasy football, Laura. That's not real-life football. These teams are not in the market of giving away elite defensive players, not for packages that would be considered. Now, the Lions will look to see what they can do, but my understanding is they're not going to mortgage their future. To get an elite player like that, first of all, a team would have to be willing to part with them, which in all probability they're not. And the Lions would have to come up with such a substantial, significant offer that it's unrealistic to expect that they could go trade for Max Crosby or Myles Garrett. They're going to look to see if they could find some defensive help. But it'll be somebody that steps in a secondary role. A short time ago, the Seattle Seahawks traded a 6th-round draft pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars for defensive tackle Roy Robertson Harris. That's the kind of move that I think the Lions will look to make if they can make a move.
Okay, interesting. You also broke some news there to mean it. Okay, thanks, Adam. More from you throughout the rest of this hour as we're with you until 5 p.m. Let's get back to some...
Oh,